It's now an AI SEO service to try and get practices to be the recommended practice when patients search for, a dentist in their area. I just don't think people really understand what's about to happen. And there, like you mentioned in your introduction, there are these inflection points in marketing where something new happens, like when reviews came or when social media hit, and the doctors that don't go, man, that's kind of stupid, I don't want to do that, but lean into it, end up reaping massive rewards over the next several years. And that's what's going to happen again.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tau. Before we begin the podcast, I found out, I'm recording this in February, I found out while I was in Hawaii speaking that the Raving Patients Podcast was nominated and won for top dental podcast of all the podcasts out there. And there's a lot of them in the dental industry. There was 186 podcasts. There were 5,200 votes. And the Raving Patients Podcast got 490. So I didn't promote it. I didn't ask people to vote for me. I didn't do any of that this year. So it is greatly appreciated to all those who have listened and did vote for me. I'm here to provide content. I'm here to provide information. I'm here to help your practice grow. So I truly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. So thank you for those who voted for me, and it's greatly appreciated. As always, I like to thank the sponsors, Dental Intelligence, CallRail, and Net32 for their continued support. And I want to remind everybody about my event, Supercharge Your Dental Practice, September 25th through 27th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at Pier 66. You can check out Supercharge Your Dental Practice to learn more, superchargeyourdentalpractice.com to learn more about the event, and you can register. You can save $100 on registration using the code RAVING, RAVING, and I hope to see you there. Today's episode is called How to Get ChatGPT and Gemini to Recommend Your Dental Practice, and my guest is Adrian Lefler, who is going to be a speaker at my event. So we're using this as a way to kind of preempt this event and provide information about what he's going to be talking about and really get excited about artificial intelligence. So Adrian has 15 years of experience helping dental practices grow through smarter marketing, clearer messaging, and patient-focused strategy. As CEO of MySocialPractice, he works with dental teams across U.S. and Canada to attract, engage, and convert today's digitally driven patients. He's known for engaging, approachable, and highly actionable training. Adrian turns complex marketing into practical steps teams can implement immediately. He also hosts the Bite-Sized podcast, which I was a guest on, sharing concise marketing insights with industry leaders, and serves on the board of Annie AI, supporting technology that improves patient communication and practice efficiency. So I've known Adrian literally over 15 years now. I consider him a really good friend of mine. He's been on my podcast before, and I'm excited to have him on again. So please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Adrian Lefler. Adrian, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, hey, and by the way, for your audience, somebody who's run a conference for 10 years, which we don't anymore, you have the best dental marketing conference in the industry.
I appreciate that.
Anybody that really wants to learn all the goods, you definitely got to go.
I appreciate that, and again, you'll be speaking there, and I want to give them a little bit of taste of what we're going to be talking about here. So, Adrian, and by the way, normally I do a Q&A, lightning round Q&A at the end. There's so much content here that I'm going to skip the lightning round Q&A, and for the next 30 plus minutes, we're really going to talk about how to get ChatGPT and Gemini to recommend your dental practice. That's really what this episode's focused on. And we may have to do a second episode soon afterwards because I think there's so much information here, and this is the future. If you do not focus on this, you will be left behind. Similar to the way practices were when I first got into the review space, how important reviews were then. If you didn't act quickly, you were behind. It's very hard to make that up. So why don't you just, to start with, Adrian, just kind of give a background as to how you got so involved in AI and why this is the future for dental practices in terms of from a marketing perspective.
Thanks, Len. I appreciate that amazing bio that you wrote for me. So we got into AI from a couple different directions. So one was we were looking for an AI receptionist. This is about 3 years ago when ChatGPT launched. We had launched it, as a marketing company, you're driving all this traffic to a website and you want to convert as much of it as possible. And statistically, practices, about maybe 15% of practices have a web chat on their website, but 2/3 of patients prefer chat over making a phone call. So we thought, let's get web chat. Let's put web chat on all of our clients' websites. So we put web chat on a bunch of websites, and every single practice called us back and said, take this damn thing off. We can't handle all the chats. So we didn't recognize ahead of time the problem of like manning chat, right? So we killed the project, and when ChatGPT came out in late 2022, I thought, this is the answer. If we can get an agent to speak like a practice and communicate and overcome objections and so on and so forth, then you could have a chat system that could completely manage conversations, and you wouldn't put another task on the team. So I started developing something and realized very quickly that I'm not a project manager or a dev guy. So we found a company that I hadn't even started yet, called Annie. Connor Ludlow is the guy that started that company. We actually put a little bit of money into helping him get started with some other investors, and he launched Annie AI, and we use that product for all of our AI receptionist stuff. So that's the product that we use. So from a perspective of an AI receptionist that's trained or is backed by AI, that's one angle we got into it. The second way that we're getting into AI is this coming like almost kind of like a doomsday issue. Like as soon as Google moves from the traditional search results page where you have the links, and they're going to do it sometime this year, everything's going AI mode. So when patients come to search, they're not going to be clicking through to your website. The recommendation that comes, so if they ask, hey, I need a dentist in my town that takes Delta Dental and, also does sedation or whatever, right? And the AI goes out and finds its information and provides that recommendation, which could be one practice or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 practices. Nobody's going to click to the websites because we can already see from statistics that humans, are using that recommendation, and they're not clicking and doing any other research. They're just deciding on the recommendation. So when that happens, practices if you're not recommended, you're going to be invisible. You're not going to be found. And so recognizing that and knowing that that's coming, we're like, holy cow, doing SEO, doing ads, all this kind of stuff that we do to help drive traffic to a website, it's flipping on its head. So we have completely revolutionized or flipped on its head our search engine optimization service. It's now an AI SEO service to try and get practices to be the recommended practice when patients search for a dentist in their area. I just don't think people really understand what's about to happen. It's kind of like, you and I have been in this industry in marketing you've been in longer for me. And there, like you mentioned in your introduction, there are these inflection points in marketing where something new happens, like when reviews came or when social media hit, and the doctors that don't go, man, it's kind of stupid, I don't want to do that, but lean into it, end up reaping massive rewards over the next several years. And that's what's going to happen again.
The doomsday that you're talking about is similar to when Demand Force lost the ability to post on Google, and overnight you had practices go from 2,000 reviews down to 25 reviews.
Nothing. Yeah.
And they had nothing. And that was the effect. That was a massive change in how people looked at reviews when that happened. And that was probably back in 2000, maybe 10 or 11.
Yeah.
So I see something similar happen here when you're putting your eggs in basket of SEO, because SEO is still important, just like a website's still important. But now AI is where you have to feed the beast. If you don't feed the beast with the information, you're just not going to be ranked. And similarly, visibility, yes, is still on Google, but now it's going to be visibility on the AI agents. And if you're invisible, you're not going to get the patients who don't know who you are. And that's really what this comes down to. So this is very important information that we're going to be providing here. You mentioned the zero clicks. So this is called the zero clicks, and there's a huge rise on these zero clicks where people are taking the information directly from the AI agents, and they're literally calling the office or they're making contact with the office. So they're bypassing the website. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
But, as I think you'll agree, they're getting the information that's cited in the AI agents from the website.
From the website.
So website information is still super important, but they're not going to be necessarily clicking on the website to get the information. The AI agent is going to provide the information to them.
Correct. So let me just, for those that are listening that don't understand this phrase zero click, let me just explain it really quick what it means. Because when I heard it the first time, I'm like, what are they talking about? So when somebody does a search on Google, like traditional search, okay, they would search, who's the best dentist near me or something like that, right? And then they would see all the links and they would click on a link and they would go to your website or a landing page and they would research and then maybe take action, okay? What's happening is that because of Google Maps, because Google Maps kind of started this, okay, and we can talk about that. But what's happening is when people use ChatGPT or the AI overviews in Google Gemini, or use Perplexity or Grok or any of these other large language models, they're not clicking to do the research because the AI agent does the research for them. So they're giving more information in their query. They're not just typing in, who's the best dentist near me? They're saying, hey, ChatGPT, I have some pain in my left side of my jaw and I think I might need a root canal. I don't know what I've got going on, but I need to come see a dentist that soon. And I don't have any dental insurance, and I only have Fridays available. That's the freaking query, right? And the reason why people are starting to do that longer queries is because the result's better. The AI agents actually can take that and the context and the sentiment that's in that query, the more we give it, the better the result becomes. And so what's doing is training human beings to give as much information as they can to an AI agent because they just want this, they want the result and they don't want to go do the research. So when that happens and that result comes up, it says, oh, go see Dr. Len Tau, blah, 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 phone number, address, whatever. They don't click anywhere. They just pick their phone up and make the call from the result. So that's called a zero click because they're not clicking on something. Right now, it's about 60% on desktops. It's almost 80% on mobile. But when Google moves to the full AI mode, there won't even be any links. It's going to go through the roof. I mean, zero-click search is probably going to go above 90%. So nobody's clicking to your website. That's what a zero-click means.
Right, and that's also the way we're searching is different too, because now everybody's talking to their phones. So the actual search, they're not typing it in anymore. So they're actually having a conversation, or they're asking Google a question, and then they're having a conversation to kind of get more specific answers that they're looking for. And you have to be a recommended choice there. There's no doubt about that. So I mentioned SEO, and for the years, SEO has been what everybody's focused on, and obviously there's a lot of people out there who dentists I'm talking about, who complain that they're paying for it and they don't see any results, blah 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 blah. So AI search SEO or AI SEO, how is that different from traditional SEO? So what are the differences, and what do practices have to pay most attention to there?
Okay, so the difference, there's actually quite a few. Like when you talk about building an SEO service and doing like activities, like how do you do it? There's a ton of stuff. But let me break it down to something kind of fundamental. Okay. So, and I think the best way to do this is just help people understand what's the difference in the way the search engines work. And if you understand how the difference in the way they work, then you'll understand kind of what the activities will be. Okay. So in traditional search, what would happen is you would go in and you would type in best dentist near me. And what Google would do, because Google controlled 92% of all search traffic, that's gone down, by the way. It's closer to like 80% now because people are using ChatGPT and other search engines. But they would just do that search. And what Google would do is they would take that query, best dentist near me, or best dentist, blah, 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 whatever, and they would go and look for a website or a blog article that had that same keyword structure in it. Now, this is a very dumbed down version of SEO, but it's fundamental to the way that it worked. So there's just a search phrase that says, who's the best dentist near me? And it would look in the area where that patient's at. And if there's a blog article or a website titled, who's the best dentist near me? That would usually get sourced or be in the list of the ranking list, right? And you could click on the link. There's a guy down in Texas somewhere. I don't remember this doctor's name, but he actually called his practice Best Dentist Near Me. Have you seen this?
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
Best Dentist Near Me. Very, very interesting.
That's the name of the practice.
Yeah, very interesting to see it in that way.
Well, the crazy thing is that I did a bunch of research on this guy. He doesn't know me, I don't know him, but I did. And he was actually ranking really, really well. Really well, right? So it was working because it was a simple match between the search query and the name of the practice. That's kind of gone now, okay? So what's happening now is the AI search engines have so much more capability of understanding human language that they can read into context and sentiment and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if I search best dentist near me, and it's an AI agent, what it does is it doesn't just take that simple phrase there, it actually breaks it up into what we call subqueries. It's trying to understand the context. So it might create a second search or a subquery of who's the best dentist in city, state of where the person's searching at. And it might look for just dentist, a list of dentists somewhere. And then it might look for qualified dentists or whatever, but it will break that search query down into several subqueries, usually a dozen, 24 subqueries, okay? And then it fans out across the web trying to find content that answers the question of the subquery, okay? A better example, let me go back and give you a better example, and then I'll keep going on my analogy. But the query that I gave before, hey ChatGPT, I've got some pain in the right hand side of my mouth. I don't know what it is. I think I might need a root canal. I don't have insurance. I can only come in on Fridays. Who's a great dentist around? Blah 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 blah. It will take that entire query and it will break it into 24 subqueries that are contextually related to it. Okay, because what the AI is trying to do is it's trying to understand the sentiment. It's really trying to come up with the best response so that we as humans keep using that search engine so they can charge advertising. That's basically the idea, right? So it fans out and it doesn't look for entire websites. It doesn't look for an entire blog. It looks for like a paragraph that answers one of those subqueries. And that paragraph might be on a website, but it might be in a review. It might be on your social media post or as a response. It could be in a directory. It could be in a forum. It could be in like Reddit or Quora. It looks at everything, which is totally different than how search used to work, because search would only look at like websites, blogs, and forums. It wasn't looking at social media content, and I don't think it was sourcing reviews well. But now it does, and the computing power behind it is there. So it's fanning out, looking at everything it can find to answer those subqueries. Then what happens is it pulls all that in, it puts in its own little AI brain, and it comes up with a response, a recommendation, and citations. So when you get your response, usually what you'll find is if you're asking a specific question, like I need to find a dentist, it's going to give you a recommendation. Say, you should go see this doctor or this doctor or this doctor. Okay, or it might be 1, it might be 5, who knows? But there'll be recommended doctors. But then it also gives citations. Now the citations are the sources where it went to gather the information. And you can actually retroactively kind of look, well, not retroactively, you can kind of look at where the sources are, because at the bottom of the recommendation, there'll be a little sources link. Whether you're using Gemini or ChatGPT, you can click on that and you can go see where it grabbed all the information to answer the subqueries, okay? So that's how it's working. So when you talk about SEO, the old way was, hey, Len, I'm going to do your SEO for you, and you want to rank for best dentist near me. So I would just write blog post after blog post after blog post with different keyword titles and keywords in the copy. That was like a rinse and repeat model, okay? Now, AI is putting a lot of weight on what people say about you online in your reviews and social media posts, as well as the content in your website and so on and so forth. So it's just looking at different content. Now, what that means for SEO now is you can't just do it through like writing more content and putting it on the website. You got to get reviews, a lot of them. You got to post on social media, and you actually can't post just shit. You got to post like good content, something where somebody's going to say something, right? Your patient's going to respond to it. You have to have a bitchin' fast website, okay? The meaning it has to load like 3 times as fast as how we used to do things. And that's because the AI search engines need it to load quicker to do the compute to give the answer rather than just displaying the website. They're actually grabbing information, thinking through it, and then spitting out an answer. So your site's got to be wicked fast. It's got to have great content. It has to be readable by AI search engines. It has to be written in the right way. You got to have reviews, social media. You need UGC, user-generated content, which is kind of reviews and social media. And you have to be on a ton of directories. Directories have always been important for link building. So you'd go out and you'd put your information on health grades, and that would create a link. Well, old SEO looked at those links as highly valuable, right? As a reference and a kind of a vote of confidence. But now they're looking at it not as just a link, but as a kind of a source to validate who you are. And they're not just looking at big ones, they're looking at every freaking directory out there, even little tiny ones in your own city, your own town, because they can look that deep. So all of a sudden, AI SEO becomes a full strategy. It's not just copy. It's like, you got to get reviews, you got to do social media, you got to post online, da 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 da. So it's just different.
Got it. No,
that was sense. A long response.
Yeah, that was a long response. But it was good because it covered everything you need to really talk about, which is you need reviews, you need social media, you have to have user-generated content. Reddit is a big source of that. So check out Reddit if you're not on there, because there a lot of I think that's the number one cited place for AI is Reddit, from what I'm understanding and what I'm reading.
It's high. It's really, really high.
Okay. So how does a practice find out if they're recommended by AI? Are they simply just type in, who's the best dentist in my town? How can they find out how they're ranking on these AI agents, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, those places?
Well, as an easy thing to do, it's not going to be totally like exact, and I'll explain why, but you just simply go to ChatGPT and you search you make a query that doesn't mention the name of your practice. So, hey, ChatGPT, I'm looking for a dentist that accepts Delta Dental, blah, 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 whatever, okay? And see if you're recommended. See if your practice shows up, okay? And then you could ask questions that are more of like reputation or social proofs questions. Like, hey, ChatGPT, what do you think about Len Tau DDS? Or practice name, and it'll go out and research, and it'll say, give a positive response, a neutral response. If you got a bunch of bad reviews and no social media content, and your website loads slow, it's not going to give a great response. So you can do that to kind of get a sense of just where it's at. But what you have to realize is that the AI search engines, and this is kind of big brother freaky stuff, okay? But, whether you believe it or not, we're already being tracked by everything. Like if you and it remembers your search history. So let's say that yesterday I got online to go find a restaurant to take my family to, and I'm looking for an Indian restaurant, but I'm looking for something nice, kind of quaint, blah 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 whatever it might be, right? Okay. If I do that search, but I say, hey, by the way, I need a good vegetarian menu, okay? And that's a query that I did yesterday or the day before. If I go in today and I say, I'm kind of hungry. Where should I go eat? It will know about what I've posted in the past, and it will know that I'm vegetarian. And it will automatically use that in the response. So I may get vegetarian options, or it'll bring that up because it has this memory, right? So what you have to realize is that everybody's response, every human being that's interacting with AI, you're going to get slightly different responses based on history. So to answer that question more fully, go and do the searches on, you want to check Gemini, you want to go to full AI mode on Google, okay? And you want to check ChatGPT because those are the two main searches. You probably want to check Grok as well, maybe, but those are the 3 main search engines where patients are trying to find dentists, okay? So you want to check them on those, but remember that it's not going to be exact. It's not static. Like you search and I search, we're going to get slightly different responses.
You know, it's funny. So when I do demos of Bird Eye, I actually talk about AI a lot. And I usually ask them if they've ever searched themselves on AI. And most of them said, no, I haven't. So I will do it for them. And I have a prompt set up already in my system, in my ChatGPT. So I'm just going to read you, based on what you just said, just an example. So I was looking for a dentist. They were in Las Vegas. So I said, I'm looking for a dentist near Spring Valley, Nevada. Who do you recommend and why? And they give me a list of people, which they were not on, okay? But there's reasons why they picked certain offices. And I said, what do you say about this actual practice? Because he wasn't on the list. So I said, what do you have to say about this practice? And it says, here's a clear objective breakdown of this practice so you can decide if it's the right fit. And it gives the address, and it says 4.5 star rating, currently a very small number of reviews. Okay? And it says, so it goes, what do they do well and things to be aware of? They have a very low review volume. The rating is good, but there are very few reviews. This means it's harder to judge long-term consistency, less real-world feedback on complex cases. For comparison, many other practices have between 200 and 900 reviews. So that's what this prompt did. It gives me that information. So it's really interesting, and people don't like seeing that. I mean,
no.
And it says this is a good fit if, or this who is a good for this practice. But it says their take, this ChatGPT's take, is I would choose someone else if you're looking for someone with a longer review history of reviews. So it's really interesting how it answers these questions now.
Well, and the reason why is because UGC is valued so high in the algorithm now. So user-generated content, a review from a third party, a person, an individual, says a whole hell of a lot more about you than what you say about yourself. And the AI engines are looking at all of that now. So it just goes to the point of like you got to play the game, you know.
Yeah, so ask ChatGPT about your practice because it should give you, like another search I did, reputation, strengths, perfect 5-star rating, reviews consistently mentioned, personal attention, friendly team, comfort, and communication. The limitation is low review office, very new office 2024. So it knows it was a brand new office, so it's going to have a low review count. So this is a high experience, low history practice, not a long-term record. So it's really interesting how it takes that data and makes these decisions. But this is what the future is, and that's why this is so important. So I'm glad we agree that they should be searching themselves on ChatGPT, and don't be afraid because you can lead the charge into what's being said about you as well. If you're feeding the AI on your website with certain things, it's going to pick that up and give a different perception of you. That's why this is really, really important. Yeah. So for those people listening to this and they say that they don't use ChatGPT, which I think is still rare, okay? If they use ChatGPT, what do you think is the first step a dentist should make towards being recommended on the AI agents? You know, if they're starting from scratch right now, and we already talked about how they're already way behind the 8 ball, and if they don't catch up soon, they're going to have a problem long term. So what's the first thing that someone should be doing to start getting recommended by these AI agents?
I'll give you the first 3 in order of what I think is most valuable, okay? 1, your website is going to be the highest or most often sourced piece of content on the internet. So when we look at the sources, we run like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of searches, and we're looking at the source content, we're seeing where the AIs are grabbing it. Half the time it's their website. Their website is included in the source, okay? So your website has to be fast, 800 millisecond load speed, Okay, it used to be like 2 to 3 seconds, 800 milliseconds, under a second is what it's got to load. So you can go to Google Page Speed Insights, is what it's called, and you can run a speed test to see how fast your website's loading. That's one thing. The content there's something called your schema. The schema is the information of what your website's about and each page is about. And if your schema is not set up correctly, like you have a dental implant page, let's say, you need to have the schema set up that I'm a dentist, I offer dental implants, here's my dental implant page, and the information has to be really correct. And the reason why is because there's not enough power, like energy, compute power. We're like starved for compute power. We don't have enough energy on the planet to drive these AI agents to read everything. So what happens is the first thing that an AI agent does is it looks at your schema to decide whether it's going to move forward and get all the information on your site. If your schema's jacked up, you're not even going to be used. So your schema, your speed and your schema are main issues with your website. 2, you have to be publishing on social media. Social media publishing is like link building used to be. Okay? If you're not publishing good content on social media, you're not going to be found. Okay? So it used to be something you could kind of like do on the side and, hey, we'll do some social media posting. No, it's being scraped and indexed by all the AI engines. And 3, you got to get a shit ton of reviews. Always, always, always get more reviews. So those 3 things, I would say social media and reviews are probably in tandem with each other, but your website's first and those 2 things are second.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. The one other question I have is when you do a search query right now, it comes up with regular results, which I think you said is going to change, and then it has an AI overview. Are the search results in Google basically the same as the recommendations in the AI overviews, or are they different there?
There was I brought a guy on my podcast on Bite Size. His name is Qasim Aslam. He did a research study for 18 months on this and looking at the overlap of AI recommendations versus the traditional links, okay? And found that in Google, the overlap is really, really low, like 20 to 25%. So they're not exactly the same. And the reason, his suggestion on that was that Google is building their AI algorithm from the ground up. They're not building it on top of traditional search, where if you go to ChatGPT or you go to some of these other large language models, which uses the traditional Google search algorithm as a basis, they have a much higher overlap. So you get a higher overlap on GPT, you get a higher overlap on Perplexity, Anthropic, and some of these large language models that hadn't built a database, basically the entire web, right, database. But Google has kind of like gone back, we think, and they're reconfiguring the way in which AI reads the web, and they're not building it on top of traditional search. So there is some overlap, but it's little. It's not as much right now. Now, who knows what'll happen over time, but they're not the same results.
Got it. Now, there's a lot of companies out there, a lot of dental offices that have templated websites where the information is basically not unique to their practice. How important do you think unique content is in this day and age because of the fact that they're looking at these websites for content, and if it's the same, it doesn't separate you at all? So what is your opinion about those highly templated website companies?
You won't be found. The AIs can recognize that stuff, and you have to build a website, and the copy on the site has to tell your story. If it doesn't tell your story and set you apart in the way that you're presenting yourself in your own words and own language, they just see that it's just fodder. And there's so much stuff being produced. Like there are billions of pages being written by AI and just copy paste kind of stuff. And the AI search engines read that and just skip over it. So you have to have custom content.
Yeah, and blogging has to be custom as well. If you're doing using ChatGPT for anything like content creation, it's taking content they're already finding and just regurgitating it, which is not going to.
You can't just use it. No, you can't do that.
100% agree with you. All right, so you have a podcast called Bite Sized Podcast. So why don't we have you promote it a little bit, so hopefully we get a little bit of listeners and viewers. Don't have them take away from my viewership or listenership, but for those who are, if you want to listen to both, so why should they listen to Bite Size Podcast?
So Bite Size, BYTE Size Podcast, is going to be the number one podcast next year. Right?
We'll see about that.
I don't know. We'll see about that. It's a dental AI and technology podcast. So it narrow the content into really just AI and technology and the influence of AI and technology on dentistry. That's what I focus on. So I bring on key opinion leaders in the industry that really have something important to say around those topics.
And they're listening to this or watching this, and they're saying, wow, I need to get with it on the AI side of things. I definitely want to be found. I recognize the need. I recognize the importance of it, where a couple years from now, you're going to be invisible. How can they find out more information about how you can help them from the AI SEO perspective?
I think the first thing would do is, you asked earlier about what should they do to kind of like find out if they're being found already, and we told them to go to ChatGPT and do a search. We have a tool that will basically run like 200 searches on your practice, and then create this really robust report that basically says you're showing up here, you're not showing up here. It's the first thing you want to do in order to like decide, do I even need to do anything, right? Do I even need help or not? It's an AI SEO audit. We'll put the link. I'll give you the link to it. I'll do it for free. I'll give you the link to it and just drop it in the description. And I'll also, I mentioned that speed test. I'll do a speed test for anybody that wants it to. So those are kind of the first things you want to do. How fast is your site, and are you even showing up or not? And if you're good to go, then you don't really need help. Just keep getting reviews and keep posting on social media and keep going. But if it's really low, then you probably need some direction and help.
And if they have any questions specifically for you, what is the best way to get in contact with you?
Shoot me an email. It's Adrian, ADRIAN, @MySocialPractice.com. Or just go to MySocialPractice.com and give us a call, and they'll forward you over to me.
Okay, and we'll drop a link to that, or a link to the audit that you're going to do for them in the show notes, in the comments, or they have access to that. So this was great. Exactly what I wanted to get out of this episode. I think it's going to be very thought-provoking for a lot of people listening to this. If you guys want to do your audit, we'll supply you with a QR code. If you want to reach out to Adrian to see what he can do for your practice, please do that. Adrian is one of the authorities in the AI industry, especially from this perspective. So I would definitely reach out to me if you have any questions. But this is the future. This is now as well, but really for the future, you've got to future-proof for your marketing and your practice. So this is something you do not want to rest on and wait, because if you fall too far behind, it's going to be very difficult for you to catch up. Adrian, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, if you liked what you heard, reach out to Adrian. Like us, review us, keep recommending this podcast. There's a reason why I was voted as the top podcast in the dental industry, which was, again, I appreciate everybody who voted for me. As I end every single podcast, remember, your reputation matters. Until the next one, thank you so much, Adrian, for joining me today, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you, Len. Appreciate you, man.